Alright, we got a 2013 Honda Civic SI, and we are going to be replacing the AC. First thing we've done is we're started the process of removing the Freon from the system. In this case, the expansion valve is stopped up. And so we're going to start here by removing the glove box. On the glove box, you have a bolt right here. And on the other side, you've got a bolt right there. Now take those out. Alright, the next thing that they want you to do is cut this plastic part right here and here. Don't cut the metal that's underneath it, but just this plastic. You can use a hacksaw or hacksaw blade. I'm going to be using, of course, this Milwaukee multi-tool and cutting this thing off. After you've cut through the plastic on both sides, then there's a nut back here. I'm going to go ahead and put the socket on it. There's one right there. And then there's another one right there. You have to remove that. Okay, we're going to start removing the bolts on this blower housing, and then there's that bolt that we got to take off as well. If you're just replacing the blower motor, and that's as far as you're going to go, there's a bolt here, and of course one right there, and I'll just show you all the locations. There's 3 spots where the bolt is: there, there, and there. Okay, we want to take this screw out as well, and there's another screw that you need to take off, and it is back here. That one right there. After you take those 2 screws out, that frees this part up to come out. We can continue pulling out this large part, and there's a bolt. We've got another bolt to take out. It's a little bit harder to get to, and I'll probably take a snapshot and draw a circle around which one it is. Alright, we're going to take out another bolt. This will be this one right there. One more bolt that's high up on the left side. See if I can get a shot of it. It is that one way back there. Yeah, that one right there. Not take note. Go ahead and unplug this little green plug on top. All you do is squeeze the sides at the top, and it'll pull right out. Then you should be able to maneuver this blower unit out. On this one, there's just a screw there at the top and here, and then that plug. Pull it out. Now I'm going to remove all these screws around the outside of this panel here. I'm trying to work my way up to the top where these top of these tubes. That's where the expansion valve is at. There's a screw right here that's really hard to see, but you got to get that one out as well. But this is the other side of it. They're just Phillips screw heads, and it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 at the top. Once you have your Freon removed, then you also want to, let's see if I can zoom into this area. Basically, your high pressure and your low pressure hoses run back to an area back here. And there is a nut that is there. I've already taken this nut off, and I probably should have videoed what it looked like. When I put it back together, I'll be sure and get that. But it's pretty hard. I had to get a 24-inch extension with a universal flex joint and then a 10mm deep socket. So there's a nut over the housing that these hoses are affixed to. You pull that nut off, and then I broke the line here, and then of course this one is just flexible, so I just took the clamp off here so that I was able to move this back and forth. So, you know, the end of it obviously it becomes loose, and then there's a long bolt with a nut head on the end of it, and you unscrew that with the 10mm deep socket, and then you can pull out your evaporator core on the inside. Once you've disconnected the hoses from the outside, you're able to slide this forward. Once you pull all the screws out of it, once you get all of those out, as you've seen, this piece just slides out. The expansion valve is right there. So we're gonna pull this way on the whole unit. It's got the evaporator core attached to it, so we're gonna pull all of that out. Go ahead and slide it all the way out. It takes a little rocking back and forth, but it does come out. To remove the expansion valve, you'll need this is a 5/32 hex head. Once you get the bolts out, just gently separate the expansion valve from the evaporator core tubing. Okay, I've installed the new expansion valve, and lucky for me, this rubber foam that fits around it didn't tear apart or anything. It just slid right off and on. Hopefully you'll have the same results as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and slide this back in to where it came out of. I decided to cover this with a plastic wrap just to keep any kind of trash from getting into it as I slide it sideways up to that hole. I definitely don't want any trash to get in here. Now we're going to be going back with the cover, and as you know, the expansion valve goes right against this back wall. For putting this piece back in, I had to go and get me a magnetic tip screwdriver. This one is like a cheap $3 one from Walmart. It's hyper tough, and it works really well. And it helps a lot because you got these screws on the back side that you just really almost have to use your video camera to see where the holes are at, and it helps a lot keep the screw on the end of the tip for you. Okay, if you took this piece off, then this is the direction it goes back on. You see the little plug here, it points to the top, and so the holes should line up accordingly. Be watchful as to how you put this on and make sure everything fits into those little slots correctly, or your defrost and heater and your air vents will not work properly if you put this on incorrectly. This is the way the that controller looks after you've installed it. All of your pieces. That one has a knob on it that goes into that slot. Make sure that hits that right. The way it worked best for me is tilting the top end inward at an angle and then putting it in. There's only 3 screws that hold it on, so it's not that hard once you actually get it seated in place. Just make sure you don't turn any of the dials on it or move some of the levers before you install it. Okay, you want to put this flap on next, right here. You'll notice that this part right here just rests over that little stub that sticks out, and then this piece is going to sit over the top of that. And then of course you got your little push buttons that you removed earlier. You'll put those back in that spot there. Okay, now we're about to go back with the blower motor assembly. Once you get it, this unit pushed in, you want to make sure it's hooking over those that red bolt that's sticking out here. Yours might be different, depends on the color of your car. But anyway, whatever color your car is, that stud's gonna be sticking out, and that helps you hang it. Right now it's not bolted down or anything, it's just hanging there. And of course there's one on the other side, and that'll help you hold it in place until you secure the nuts that go on those. After you get the blower housing installed, then you want to go ahead and put this piece in last. To reinstall the blower motor, there's that little slot right there it goes into, and all the holes will line up. The last piece to install before you install your glove box is this piece. Of course it lays in here like that, and then you put the bolts, one of the bolts there, the other bolt over there, and it'll hold it in place.